Good morning, class. This is lesson number 6. Today is April the 7th, the year of 2024. The topic of this lesson is Jesus' first miracle. Today's aim is to describe the details of the miracle of water turned into wine at Cana in Galilee. The principle is to show that God's creative word can meet all our needs. And the application is to encourage complete trust in Jesus, who is the creative word who can meet all our needs. We are in John, 2nd chapter. And John is unusual when it comes to him speaking about Jesus. If you follow along with Book of John, Matthew, Mark, Luke, they all talks the same thing. They all say the same things pretty much in their own words though. But for some odd reason, John is the only one that mentions the wedding. Not only does he mentions the wedding, but John takes it all the way back to the beginning. All the rest of them is focused on trying to explain to us that Jesus is God. John the Baptist, he's doing that too now. He's doing the same thing. He's explaining to us that Jesus is God. But Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they're going through the complete lineage of Jesus, letting us understand why he should be the Messiah, why he should be God. They're all trying to pinpoint his relatives and say, well, because of Abraham and because of Jacob, he is the Messiah. He comes out of that strong lineage. But John the Baptist, he starts out talking. John, yes. He starts out talking about in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was God. And the Word was with God. And at the same time, the Word was God. He talks of all these things in the beginning, way before time. And then he mentions that the Word became flesh. Now, that's what John talks about in the whole first chapter. He talks of all these things. He even mentions the fact that he is not the one that y'all are supposed to be looking for. No, the one that you're looking for, he coming after me. Right. But he is still before me. I'm still going to respect him as such. So don't look at me as being this person that you think I am, because that's not who I am. I'm talking to y'all about the person that you need to be looking for. So he's talking to us all about Jesus, how Jesus is God. He's telling us all these things, and then he hits us with, on the third day there's a wedding. And Jesus attends this wedding. What does this wedding have to do with anything? Matter of fact, the miracle that was done on this wedding, it was something that just happened. Wasn't planned. It just happened. Because as I spoke to y'all about previously, I told y'all that most of the time when Jesus is about to do certain things, he always mentions the fact that now is not the time. And when his mother came to him with this, should I do the quotes and say problem? When he came to him and said, we have a problem, and she mentioned the problem, he says, this is not the time. This is not my time. And matter of fact, what does this have to do with me? What is this to you? So this is something that wasn't supposed to be, but it happened. And John is the only one that mentions this wedding. So we're going to get into this wedding. Just to let you know that it says in the third day. Not too familiar with what third day he's talking about. I'm just going to think that it's the third day of this wedding, because these weddings last about a week. So I'm just guessing that on the third day of this wedding celebration, they ran out of wine. And that would have been a big problem because these celebrations were celebrated with wine. And by running out of wine, that was like a sign of disrespect. You don't just run out of wine. You invited us to come. You're supposed to take care of us, So you told us to come and show up because you have this big celebration party going on and you want to invite us, and we showing up, and now you run out of wine. And I know how most of us do when we go to a party, and they run out of something, then we gone. When all the alcohol is gone, that's it. Everybody gone, because to them, when the drinks is gone, the party is over. Yeah. So it was a big problem, and by the simple fact that Mary is the one that brought it up and mentioned it, I'm just going to assume that she was the host. Going to assume that she was the host because she looked at this as being something that was important to her. So I'm going to say she was the host because if they ran out of wine, then that means that she didn't do her job. She was supposed to make sure that everything was accommodated for the people that was showing up. So it says, in the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there, and both Jesus was called and his disciples to the marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus said unto him, they have no wine. She brought a problem to Jesus that wasn't really a problem. Most of the time when we hear about Jesus doing miracles is somebody's sick, somebody just died, somebody's crippled, somebody's blind. These are his miracles. And here she go. This isn't anything that is serious. The problem was really just they ran out of wine. Jesus and his disciples were there. So John is letting us know that Jesus lived his life just like any ordinary man. Just like we could get invited to a wedding, he was invited to a wedding. He went out, he did his party with them. I didn't say he took part in everything that they did, but he went out and he had the party with them. Because he was human. He was an ordinary man, just like us. But his mother came to him with the problem and said, we have no wine. And what was his response? Jesus said unto her, woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. Now, don't think that by him calling her a woman that he was disrespecting his mother, because that was a sign of respect. Yeah. Then that was a sign of respect to call her woman. That was a sign of respect. So he says, woman, what is this to me? What is this any concern to me? Matter of fact, what concern is it of yours? Mine hour is not yet come. It's not the time for me to start doing stuff like this. I'm not supposed to be doing no miracles right now. This is an unplanned miracle that he did. I don't know how many more miracles Jesus did that nobody even relayed. But I'm pretty sure he did a whole lot of other things that just wasn't mentioned. Right. This is one of them that one person caught and mentioned it. His mother saith unto the servants, y'all check out how this is done now. Pay attention to how this is done. Jesus said, now, it started out, his mother came to him and says they have no wine. So she brought forth the problem, brought forth the question. And then he says, woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. She never spoke to him again. The next thing came out of her mouth was, to the servants, whatsoever he said to do, do it. So, now this is how the world used to be. When mama and daddy used to come to you, they tell you what they want, and they leave it alone. Because they know that whatever they ask you to do, it's going to get done or else. So Mary didn't have to worry about what her son was going to do about it. Now, by the simple fact that he said, "What have I to do with thee?" That right there alone is, I don't want to do what you're asking me to do right now. This is not my problem. Why are you bringing this problem to me? But he's a son. He's still a son. That's still his mother. So whenever his mother asked him to do something, although he didn't want to do it, she knew she didn't have to ask him no more. She said what she wanted, and then turned to the servants and said, "Whatever he asks of you, just do it." Because she knew that anytime you ask God for a favor, God is going to work that favor out through you. He's not just going to go and poof, it's done. Whatever your problem is, you're going to work it. He going to fix it, but you're going to work it. You see, you can't just go and pray to God and then just sit down. Whenever you pray and ask God for certain things, you got to do something. God is expecting for you to do something. He's not expecting for you to just sit back and ask for it and then sit down and wait for it to happen. You ask for it and you got to do something about it. Now, this is what happened. It says there were set there 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Now, these big stone pots, there were 6 of them. Mm-hmm. Big stone pots. Now, of course, they couldn't lift these pots, so they left these pots right there where they were sitting, because the purpose of these pots was for just like it said, the purifying of the Jews. Mm-hmm. So they come in, they clean themselves off in these pots of water. They clean themselves off. So inside these pots, it's dirty. They clean themselves off. Everybody out there has already washed off in these pots. You haven't mentioned that Jesus asked them to clean out the pots, wash them up. No, he just said, fill them up with water. Now, 2 or 3 firkins, that's 20 to 30 gallons apiece. So after filling up 20 to 30 gallons, they have about 120 to 180 gallons of water. Imagine how long it would take to fill up 180 gallons of water when you got to walk back and forth from the well back to the pot, back to the well, back to the pot. Now, 180 gallons is going to take a few trips. Jesus said unto them, "Fill the water pots with water," and they filled them up to the brim. They kept going back and forth until each pot was filled all the way to the top, leaving no room for anybody to add anything else in there. Nothing but water. Now, let's all get the simple fact that there's no alcohol in these pots of water. So those of you that feel like Jesus turned water into wine, so it's okay to drink, read your scriptures and see what happened. Jesus never gave them wine. All right. He kept filling the water pots up with water until it was filled to the brim. Understand when wine was tasted. It was never wine. Understand that wine wasn't tasted until it went in the mouth. That was when wine was tasted. Because what Jesus worked on was your heart's desire. He never changed the water to wine. Jesus, when the water went into those pots, what was it? It was water. When Jesus said, draw from those pots, what was it? It was still water. It was water up until the point to when the governor put it in his mouth. And then he said, this is the best tasting wine I've ever tasted. Taste and see how good God is. It was never wine. It was always water. But God, when Jesus prayed before asking them to put the water in the pots, he was asking his Father to change their hearts, give them their heart's desire. Whatever their hearts want is what they get. And I'm telling you, everybody probably tasted something different. Just like we all read these scriptures and everybody gets something different out of these scriptures, they all tasted something different. And what they tasted was what they wanted. And me and Deep was talking earlier this morning, and he was saying back in the day, those older folks, they used to lay hands on you and they pray on you, and as soon as they pray, boom, you're healed. Why we can't do it now? The reason is they had the wine and we don't. We ran out. We still looking for our wine. So the whole time we're still walking back and forth, still filling these pots up because we ain't there yet. We still filling these pots up. See, God has to get us to work.
He always said according to your faith.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's going to take me to my next thing, but I ain't made it there quite yet. I'm going to get there, though. I know I might say it before I get there, but I'm going to get there, because I've been waiting to get on this lesson here for a long time. Look, I've been looking to talk about this lesson, to the simple fact I was scared to talk about it this morning because I didn't think it would come out just right. I've been waiting for a long time to talk on this subject, because there's been a lot of people still trying to say that if God turned water into wine, drinking can't be bad.
It was 2,000 wine.
It was. And when they talked about wine in these Bible days, they mentioned wine, and it was both fermented and unfermented. And every time they talked about the best wine, it was always just grape juice. Anytime they mentioned the best wine, they was just drinking juice. Lord have mercy. Let me get on here. And he saith unto them, matter of fact, let me go back a step. I'm going all the way back to verse 3 again. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus said unto him, they have no wine. And shortly after that, Jesus says, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour has not yet come. And shortly after that, his mother turned to the servants and said, whatever he asks, just do it. Mary was a leader. Mary was not a follower. Leaders get things done. Leaders don't take no for an answer. Whatever the leader is set forth out to do, the leader gets it done. The leader don't care what you feel about it. The leader don't care how you respond to it. The only thing that the leader know is there's a problem and there's a solution. I'm seeking the result. Get it done. That's the only thing Mary was seeking. And see, any follower of God is a leader. If you're following somebody and you're not a leader, then you're following the wrong person. If you're hanging on my coattail, understand what I'm saying now. If you're hanging on my coattail and you're following me around every way that I go, I ain't going to tell you I'm leading you in the wrong place, but you're going to always be behind me. At some point, you're going to have to step off of my coattail, and if I taught you some things along the way, you're going to lead by example. So every good leader, the followers are also leaders. They just haven't made it to that point yet. Mary was a leader. See, my wife, I probably shouldn't be mentioning my wife right now, but I'm sorry, I'm going to do it. Now, my wife, she always gets a little agitated and upset with me for simple things. You know, something like, you know, if she says she wants something and the next day she see what she asked for sitting there in front of her, she say, why you keep buying this stuff for me? And I say, because I'm the man of the house. If there's anything that you say you need, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to make sure that it happens. If you don't want me to go out there and do certain things for you, stop talking about it. Because my job is to fulfill everything that you ask for. If you're asking for it and I can fulfill it, I'm going to do it. So if you don't want me to do it right now, don't mention it. Mary was a leader. Mary stepped out there and she did what she needed to do to get the job done, and she knew her son could do it. So she walked straight up to her son and said, hey, we out of wine. Not worrying about what he's going to think about it, but she knew that he can get the job done. So she left that question with him, and she turned to the next step, because if anything was going to get done, we was going to be the ones to do it, not him. He was going to guide the way. He was going to tell you what you need to do, but you was going to be the one doing the work. You don't just sit there and pray to God and say, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. And you sit down and wait. When you ask him for something one time, you leave it alone. And then he guides you in that right direction. He might put you to work, because that's what you're supposed to do. You work towards what you need. You don't just sit back and wait hand and foot for somebody to do it for you. God don't have lazy people. His soldiers are not lazy. If he got soldiers in his army, it's because they are willing to do the job. If you're not willing to do the job, you're not one of his soldiers. So he's going to put you to work. It says, and he said unto them, draw out now and bear it unto the governor of the feast, and they bear it. Now, did he say pull the wine out the jar? No, he didn't. What was put in those jars was water. What they drew out of that jar was water. Now, everybody already knew that if you run out of wine, it's a problem. There's no more wine at this feast. It's a problem. And the governor is looking for wine. Jesus just said, draw out of that jug and take it to the governor. And these servants got pitchers of water, walking to the governor with pitchers of water. What is going on in their minds right now? I can only imagine. Because they know that if you bring water to this governor who wants wine, it's going to be a problem. Right. So their faith had to be in there as well. They had to have enough of faith to believe that something was going to happen between the time they drew that water out of that jug to the time they got to the governor, or else they was in trouble. So they had to have enough of faith to believe something was about to happen. You know, I played baseball, and I was number 4 batter. Anybody know what number 4 batter is? That's cleanup batter. You know, that's the one that they always know if anybody is on base, they all coming home. Because cleanup batter get there. And you was that one person that whenever you get on a certain team with certain people, they be like, we about to do this. That boy about to do it. Now, I'm going to tell you, I wasn't always that one that did it. Just as many home runs I hit, I had just as many strikeouts. Just as many. So I'm not that one that you look at and say, well, he going to do it anyway. No, I had some bad times myself. But whenever Jesus stepped into play, everybody knew something was about to happen. And these servants that was carrying these pitchers of water, they had enough of faith to believe that Jesus wasn't just going to send them out there on their death trial. Jesus was going to send them out there because something was going to happen from the time they pulled that water out of that jug to the time they presented it to the governor. And they were still praying until the time that it went to their mouth. Once it got up in his mouth and he says, ooh, this is the best thing I've ever tasted, their prayers was answered. Because I can guarantee they've been praying the whole time. Because the whole time they've been walking looking at these pitchers of water. The whole time they've been watching pitchers of water. Until it got to the governor. When it got to the governor, they says, Lord, please let it be. And it was. See, most of the time, we're so focused on what it is to the point that we forgot about what it should be. See, if God told you that you are going to be financially fit, you're so focused on the point to You're struggling right now. You're broke every day. Your car's broken down. Your house is falling apart. And you're saying that God is treating you badly. God is doing wrong to you. But see, the thing is, when you pray to God for certain things, just like when Mary went to him and said, we need wine, God gave her water, that didn't make sense, did it? We asked for wine, but you gave us water. When you ask God for a healing and he take people out of your lives, most of the time the reason you're not healed yet is because of the people that was in your life. Sometimes when you ask God for a new house and foreclosure come on the one that you're in, the reason foreclosure came is because that wasn't the house for you. God got one for you. But you're still complaining about all the bad things that's going on in your life. Saying, God did this. Why did you make me go through things like this? Well, the reason you're still going through things like that is because just like those servants, you're still walking back and forth, filling up these jars with water. You haven't gotten to your wine yet. You're still filling these jars up with water. You are doing the work. Sometimes you got to fall before you can get up. That's just the simple fact of life. And God is not going to make your journey easy. Your journey is going to be difficult. It's going to be tough, because once you get down there to that last day, to that end, to judgment day, when it's time for us to actually get to work and fight in this war, if he had lazy people on this journey, you're no good to him when it goes to battle. So you got to work. You got to put in your time. You got to keep running back and forth, drawing this water out so that you can get wine at the end. At some point, you got to do something. When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, when was it made wine? After he tasted it. At what point did Jesus turn it to wine? He never turned it to wine. The whole time, Jesus just told God, he says, look, give them their heart's desire. Give them their heart's desire. So instead of him giving you every time what you asking for, he's always giving you what you need. That's all that happened there. He gave them what they needed, not what they wanted. They asked for wine, but he gave them water. Your body wasn't going to function. See, it stated at the beginning that once they, well, not at the beginning, but it's going to say it later. But once they've gotten to their drunken state, he says that most of the time when they're in their drunken state, they can't tell the difference. So that's when the people bring out the cheaper stuff. But at this point, they bought out the best stuff. Because God gave you what your heart desired, but gave you what your body needed. You couldn't function no more if you kept taking in all that alcohol. If you've already gotten drunk and you still drinking, the next step is you're going to pass out. And after you pass out, you're going to have alcohol poisoning. And after you have alcohol poisoning, you're going to have cirrhosis of the liver. After cirrhosis of the liver, you sitting waiting for your time. Because after you've done destroyed what God gave you to live, next step is death too. So God has given them what they needed, not what they wanted. I know you asked for wine, but I'm going to give you water. I know you asked for a new car, but I'm going to give you this little sedan. I know you asked for a new mansion, but I'm going to give you this little house. Because what you needed was that. Stop focusing on so much of what it's not and focus on what it is. Understand that when God tells you certain things, that's what it's going to be. But you got to live through what it is until you get to what it's going to be. And when the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, he knew not whence it was, but the servants which drew the water knew. The governor of the feast called the bridegroom and said unto him, every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. kept the good wine until now, kept the best water until now, kept the best prayer until now, kept the best thing that I can ever offer you until now, which the best thing that anybody can offer you right now would be God.
That's it.
The best thing that was given was God. Put water in the jugs, drew water out of the jugs, put water in the cup. Water went down the throat, but the mouth tasted wine. The mouth tasted God. The best thing that went down his mouth was God, because when Jesus spoke it, God went in it. We need to stop asking God for a lot of silly things, because sometimes when you ask God for certain things, God's going to give you just that, because you don't really know. God is trying to teach you something. When you ask God for $1 million because you got all of these bills out here and you got to get these bills paid, God give you $1 million, and what happens after you get that $1 million? Your bills go up too. That's because when you grow, your problems grow. You get this new house, you got new problems. You get new money, you got new bills. So God's going to always give you what you need, not always what you want. So be careful of what you're asking for. This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. Right here, that's letting us understand that the ones that was following him, most of them before this was following him just because of what he can offer. They was following him because certain times they needed certain things and he came through and delivered. So because of these certain things, they followed him. Because he did certain things for them that helped them get by, they followed him. And right here, letting you see that after this happened, now they start to believe. Where was the belief before this? Sometimes people got to see you in action before they believe you can do certain things. If I tell somebody, hey, just bring your car around to the house, I'll fix it for you. How many people do you think will bring it around to my house? Not very many, because don't very many people know that I can work on a car. But if I let them see me work on a car and fix a car that certain people can't fix, now everybody want to bring it to me because they think I'm a good mechanic. So now that they've seen a miracle happen here that wasn't supposed to happen in the first place, didn't even see Jesus do anything other than tell them to put water in these jugs and take it to the governor. What did he do other than just tell them to do something? Says, look, go out there and get some water and put in these jugs. Now take the water out this jug and give it to the governor. They saw a miracle happen and he didn't even do anything. He just said, go do it. So yeah, I'm going to follow that too. The only thing he got to do is speak it in existence. So what you're saying is Jesus is not supposed to be doing all of these things, but he was here at the beginning. That's the whole purpose of John here. John letting you know that he was here at the beginning of time. Everything about him was in the beginning of time. If it wasn't for him, nothing would have been made. He was the one that took water and brought it out of a rock. If he can bring water out of a rock, why he can't turn water into something that I want? My heart's desire. He turned water into something that I wanted. And he gave me what I wanted through what I needed. That's how God works. That's how he operates. Anything that I need from him, he's going to give it to me through my wants. Most of the time, my wants ain't what I really need. Because as the minister Spry said sometimes before, most of the time we don't even know what we need. We be asking for a lot of things that we say we want, and when we get it, we ain't even wanted it. Because that's how God operates sometimes. God gives us what we need through the things that we want. Just because you asking for this and you didn't get it, don't mean that you didn't get it. You just didn't get it how you wanted to get it. It didn't come the way that you wanted to look. I want myself a wife. But the wife that you're imagining is one of them, the runway models out there. But the wife that God gave you is not a runway model. I ain't saying that your wife don't look good, but the wife that God gave you is not a runway model. Are you happy or are you satisfied? God gave you what you needed. Most of the time we can't handle everything that we want because behind that runway model comes responsibilities. And if you can't handle those responsibilities, why would God give it to you?
That's it.
God ain't going to give you anything that you're going to use and destroy it. If you can't handle what he's going to give you, he ain't going to give it to you. This beginning of miracles, the beginning of miracles, the beginning of miracles. Who believes that this was the beginning of his miracles? The beginning of Jesus' miracle. Is this the first wedding that Jesus has ever attended? No, it's not. Because John already said it. In the beginning was the Word. So, nothing that was made not by him. The beginning was the Word. All things that was made by him. And if it wasn't made, it's because he didn't make it. So in the beginning was him. So in the beginning was Adam and Eve. That was the first marriage that was ever joined together.
I love how it said, and also the beginning of them believing in him showing his glory.
Right.
Showing that he is God.
See, Jesus has always been showing miracles. His whole time here on this earth, he's always been showing miracles. He's always been expressing miracles. The thing was, he hasn't always been showing you what you wanted to see. He's been showing you things, but most of the time you didn't. Just like y'all sit around, well, I ain't going to say y'all. I'm going to say some people. Minister Sprott got me on it now. I ain't going to say everybody. I ain't going to say everybody, but I know how it was with me. All right? I used to sit up around certain people, and they come up and they start talking about God all day long. And in my mind, I ain't never said it out because I was raised better than that. I don't never speak out like that. I might feel wrong about it, and I might think certain things about it, but it ain't gonna never come out of my mouth. They come around me and they start talking about God all day long, and I'm sitting there thinking, God, I wish they hush. I'm tired of hearing about God all the time. Every time they come around me, it's God this and God that. Until now, talk to me about God all you want. Yeah, see, because that's how God works.
I love it.
That's how he works. God brings to you what you just don't want, but what you need. And at some point, you're going to accept it.
That's right.
You're going to accept what God brings forth to you. I didn't want to accept all this talk about God, but you can talk about God all you want right now. And I'll sit and listen. I'll even share it back and forth with you because I enjoy it. I understand how important God is. I understand how the importance is about talking about God, expressing God. I even now understand what the importance was for these people coming around me talking about God, even though I didn't want to hear it. It was for my benefit.
Amen.
I might not have wanted to hear it, but God made sure it got inside me. Anything that you need, God gonna make sure you get it. These people didn't want no water. They wanted wine. Water was the last thing they was thinking about. God said, it's all right, I'm going to give you your wine, but it's going to be water. That's how God operates. I'm going to give you your wine, but it's going to be water. It's going to be exactly what you need. Now, this part right here. And he manifests forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. After this, he went down to Capernaum. He and his mother and his brethren and his disciples, and they continued there not many days. After Jesus did what he needed to do, he left. Y'all see the importance in that. after he did what he was sent there to do, he left. Y'all know most problems happen to a lot of people because after they go and do what they're supposed to do, they sit there and tries to reap all the glory and the benefits and keep putting their name on it, saying, yep, I did this, I made that happen, I made this happen, and now you got problems because you didn't want to leave. Now you stuck up in this mess because you didn't want to leave. When Jesus did what he had to do, he left. When Jesus said what he had to say, he left. Understand that people couldn't stone Jesus after he was talking about the woman that was committing adultery. And everybody was sitting there looking at him like he was all wrong and they was ready to stone him. But when they got to stone him, where was he? He left. Because after he got finished doing what he was supposed to do, he left. If he'd have sat around there and tried to explain something to people that didn't want to catch the understanding of it, he'd have been punished. But he left. When we say what we need to say, when we've done what we needed to do, we done expressed what we needed to express to certain people, the next best thing is to leave. Because the longer you sit there and you try to explain to them again, and you explain to them again until you think they got the answer, now you done on their side now because they done talked you out of what you done told them. Now you in trouble. Because now all the things that God had you to tell them, now you don't even believe what you just said. Now you questioning yourself. God says, go up there and tell them what I told you to tell them. Then after you've told them everything that I said tell them, leave. And that brings me to my next point. God had already told me what to say, which is nothing that I wrote down in here. Now I'm going to turn this over into the hands of the superintendent.
Have mercy. Hey, Lord, thank you, Jesus.